Make my life easier. So welcome to our Zoom refresher, and let's move forward in this screen. I do want to share with you a resource site. This is where I'll put the course recording. Also, if you have missed a class or would like to take something we've recorded over the summer, we have a full class list here. If you want, you could technically earn a graduate credit of time through all the hours and hours of sessions we have added here. So they're in 60 minutes or less for the most part. And I will be putting our Zoom refresher here at the end of the list. If you've totally missed our basics and you want to watch that, you can click there. You can still earn a credit hour for seat time. The certificate is right below the video. We put a lot of resources into the video description, so you might want to pop out to YouTube, because down in the session description is where you would find resources. So here, basically, a lot of the resources came straight out of the presentation. So that presentation, right? Where is it? And the refresher about it. So I'm going to head to that now. And I'm going to copy this into our chat. I put this into our invitation today. So that's something you probably have already seen. Maybe you've clicked on it. And so I want to send this out to everyone. So if you have the chat box open, or if you see a little pop-up, you can snag that link and visit. So I want to fly through a few of the features. Remember, this is our refresher, what Zoom can do. As long as you have the setting turned on, you can join from your browser. So students can do that. And if they join from their browser, that means they don't have to have any extra software installed. That's nice then for parents too. No one needs an account. That's nice. But if you join from browser, it's just a little less complicated. If you are installing or triggered, prompted, then you click Open Zoom. It's going to install just kind of like a little plugin for the browser. And they would follow those steps to add it. To remind you, hold the space bar that temporarily unmutes you. So that's kind of handy. And pressing Alt will show or hide your toolbar. And using the client means installing the actual program, the Zoom application, to your computer. So there's a whole list of keyboard shortcuts for you. We encourage you to turn on your waiting room. Also, there's a feature you can join by phone. So some people just use the number to dial in, so they have really good audio, because that's important. If they can hear you well, we can get over some grainy video, or if you're just using a document to share on your screen. There is a setting to make sure that you're not displaying people's entire phone number. So I'll hopefully show you that too in our settings. In chat, you can totally turn off chat, and maybe starting at the school year, you would start that way. That way it's hard to first coordinate the meeting, start it, check students in, take attendance. Maybe you get yourself a class roster and you print it out. I have mine in a nice binder sleeve, so I can use dry erase and keep checking it off. But that's a lot to manage. Then you want to share your screen too. You can eliminate the chat altogether. I definitely highly advise no private chats when you're dealing with students. And you guys can play around here. I have private chats open. You see someone you can chat on the side. And as the teacher, you're never going to see record of that private chat. So that's why it's very important to have that turned off. Also, when your participants come in, make sure they can rename themselves if you allow that, because that would be hard then for you to know, oh, who is it? Is it their sibling? Is it their parent? Who used this computer last with Zoom? It'll possibly pull in that name. And then they have the ability to mute and unmute. There are nonverbals built into Zoom, only if you turn that setting on. So we'll make sure you have that in your account with the settings on. They look a little different if you join from a browser. So you still have a little hand, but it's not blue, and you have slightly different icons. And here, participants controls. You can control that from settings or on the fly. And we have a nice little security shield where we can control some of these as well on the fly. So Zoom backgrounds, they're fun, they're great. And until recently, my own computer wasn't, I don't know, something wasn't modern about it, or it wasn't capable, but in Zoom's last update of the program, of the client that's installed, now I can use Zoom backgrounds. So that's handy. And that's something you can encourage. Maybe that's something as a reward for fun, but no, it's gonna draw extra strain from your signal. And if kids are having trouble connecting, Zoom backgrounds are not going to help them. But they are nice that they could block out distracting backgrounds. So, viewing options, all of you, I showed you in the beginning how to exit full screen. And there's also features like remote control. So you can be very interactive, and I hope to demonstrate this with someone here. That's built in, that someone could control your computer screen. Also, we want to be sure that you have the annotation tool off. Mine is on, so I am subject to be a victim of any of you who find that tool and want to scribble on my screen. So that's another tool you might want to disable and only allow during certain times. There is a neat side-by-side mode, so that way you could have the speaker pretty large and then there's shared screen large. So that's still only controlled by each user, so you can't guarantee that students are viewing you that way. Gallery view, we have speaker view. Strip of students can be across the top or off to the side. Now, sharing screen, in the beginning of this session, I had music playing that only I enjoyed because I forgot to check a box here in the lower left corner. So you see that? Make sure if you want the video sound to go with it, make sure the kids are able to hear it. And that could be the thing you do right away. If you're playing a video for class, pause it after a few seconds and put in the chat. Can anybody hear this? As long as you're getting some yeses, you're good to go to keep playing. You can share not only your computer screen or a certain tab or window that's open. Zoom has a built-in whiteboard. It's not very robust, it's very plain, not a lot to it. And if you have the Zoom client installed on your computer, you can get an add-on where you can plug in your iPhone or iPad and then project anything that's on it or use it as a document camera. And you're only joining the meeting once, so it's not going to strain anything additional on your internet service. It's just going to allow that device to join. Now, that mobile device, whether it's a phone or a tablet, it has to be on the same Wi-Fi. So that is one thing to keep in mind when you set that up. So here's just a preview if you're on the computer or on an iPad. So the iPad could give you that touch, kind of like a stylus tablet, so you can draw, but it's very basic for a whiteboard tool. When you're sharing your screen, make sure you don't have this wide open and students can't share. You have control and you can limit only to the host and who can start it. You can change that right on the fly. If you look across the bottom of your screen right now, you have that green share screen button and it might tell you only the host is allowed and it won't let you. So it's okay, try it, see if you can share. I've also limited it to one person at a time. But in the middle of a class, you could say, all right, show me what's on your screen. You can change the setting right in your meeting. So right behind me, I have my fancy stand where it's a locker shelf and you can grab them at a drugstore, and the purpose of it is to hold my mobile device. And that way I don't have to try to balance that. I can use the camera, it points right through the shelf, and then I'm able to write just as if I was there with my interactive whiteboard or my own manipulatives. This recording, you likely won't be recording with students, but keep in mind, you might not use Zoom with students at all. You might just use it to make recordings, and you can be in a room all alone teaching, and then you have that recording for your remote students, for students who are absent unexpectedly. So Zoom is a great tool for just recording alone, but you can turn on a setting that notifies your participants if you are recording. There's analytics that let you see more about your video. I'm going to fly through some of these. You can also provide that remote control, I hope, to demonstrate. So this isn't all a basics class. It's mostly a refresher. And when you end the meeting, you can end it for everybody. No one can get in without you being there as long as you have your waiting room turned on. And there's other securities like having a password. At the end of that presentation, we've listed a lot of resources for you, so you can check those out. And I had already put our presentation in our chat. Now, a checklist. I'm going to share this with you as well. And this also came out into our invitation for those of you attending us live, but I'll put this also in our video description on YouTube for those who watch this recording later. This is something I want you to review. Go into My Settings in your account and check out your profile. How do you want your name to appear? Your photo, it could be an avatar, and then set up a personal meeting ID. It will only use numbers, so think of a number. I used my office phone number. I can remember that easily, so that way I can give it out anytime. And make sure your time zone is set to Eastern time. For your meetings, you can set these defaults for your personal meeting room, but then as you schedule a meeting, you'll also see that it's going to be asking the same type of questions. Hey, host video, meaning the teacher, should your video be on or off? The participants, on or off? Now I'll tell you what, I usually just kind of match the settings in both places. Now, make sure you have join before host off. Don't let the kids join before you. And what else was a biggie in here? Private chat off. You can have co-hosts. So if you do set this on and email, you put someone's email in there, then make sure you go to the additional setting where you allow a co-teacher. And that way they can take over the meeting if you drop out unexpectedly. Because otherwise, if you drop out, a student becomes the host. So you wouldn't want them having all those controls to share their screen and kick students out, but some of that does happen from time to time. I was a victim of it myself at my own fault. So you can review and go through all of these settings as well as screen sharing. And we recommend it like if you were doing the remote control feature, that's good if you have meetings and you need a parent to do a digital signature on your screen. That was an option. And so that nonverbal feedback, make sure you have that on. Otherwise, you don't get those little symbols. Your students only get those symbols if it's turned on in your account. They don't have to go out and get anything extra. It's part of your meeting if you say so. So you know what? I have an update here. This all came back. Zoom did a temporary security adjustment. And so I'm going to update this. And we are good to go on join from browser. So I fixed it in the presentation, but I did not fix it here in our handout. And I'll clean that up a little bit later. Oop, yep, a lot more cleaning up to do. For parents, so there is a link to a nice tool for the parents. And these are the things we really need right now. Resources for them, so I'm going to paste that in our chat. For a resource for parents. So I'm still screen sharing. This is a lot of what you could be doing with your students. And I know in one district, they did not want to allow any videos. And I came across something since our earlier presentations in April and in May. So I'm going to Zoom my settings. And so what I'm looking for is this neat little button where you can start the meetings and just make it a screen share. No video for the students at all. And that might be a simple way for you to get started for the year. Now, do you know if they're really there or not? That's where other classroom strategies come in. Using the nonverbals, asking questions, have them sound off in the chat. And so what I saw was up here at the top right called Host Meeting. And when you click there, it says, oh, I can use a screen share only type of meeting. Now, I don't want to start this one. I would have 2 meetings going on. The only thing I didn't like is that I couldn't schedule. So I need to look into that more, but that would help satisfy those who say, oh, nope, we don't want any student videos on screen. You still get the teacher's video, but you always have control to mute your video. And you do that down in your toolbar where you have a little video camera icon and you click stop video. So screen sharing, here's a tip. Get prepared ahead of time of your meeting. You want to do things like get all your tabs open. If you look across the top there, I have a gazillion tabs ready for you and I pinned them. I made a bad mistake in my recent class where I actually closed the tab and I shouldn't have. And that kicked me out of my own meeting. So if you don't want to accidentally close a tab, then make sure you pin it. So if I visit a website and I want it to stay on my screen, I right click on the tab in Google Chrome and I come down to pin. So this is a great way to protect yourself. Also, I have a lot of tabs. I can see what they are by their icons and hover over with them easily so I can visit them if I need to and know what they are. So there's that parent Zoom cheat sheet getting started. So screen sharing, pretty simple. And if I wanted to, here's what I'm gonna actually do for you guys. I'm gonna close up my chat here and I need to show my Zoom windows. So if I change my views, there we are, just what I wanted. And I'm going to stop my screen share. So now you're all stuck looking at me. But now you can see, let's see, it's not displaying my tools across the bottom how I expected. Well, you can choose your own tools across the bottom and you probably don't get security. Let me find out from you in our participants panel here. Can you use the nonverbals to tell me if you are able to see, you're able to see my Zoom toolbar across the bottom? Give me, Josh is saying yes, a green check. That would be a good symbol to choose. Okay. One I'm concerned is Melissa, you're on an iPad. Are you able to see my Zoom tools across the bottom of my video window? Julie does not see Melissa. Okay, both Melissas no. All right. Yeah, I see that I'm not sharing out my own Zoom tools. Thank you, Melissa. So let's see what I've done that I'm not allowing in my video. Let's see if I can cancel the spotlight. Okay. Well, rats, I was really hoping that I can show you my toolbar. Well, nevertheless, when you are a presenter, you have a security bar. And I'm going to bring back my video here. See what else I can do for you guys. But you guys don't see my tools. That was a setting I used to. And I think I know why. Sorry, just had a momentary brain failure there. Now my tools are there. I'm going to clear out all the responses that were in our participants panel. If you can see my toolbar across the bottom, so my microphone gauge is reading, and you can see that I have clicked on security. Give me a green circle in our participants panel. So there we go. That was an operator error. Now, most of you would not normally do this. You would not show your Zoom tools to your students, but I'm trying to show you how to use Zoom. So I kind of need you to see those tools. So as a presenter, a host, you can see that I can, on the fly, lock the meeting. That means no one else can join after I lock this. Here's where, if I forgot to do this in my account settings, I can still enable the waiting room. What else can the participants do? Maybe I say 1 minute of class left, I'm going to let you all chat. I can turn the chat on later, and you might start your school year with the chat off to help yourself. Just keep it straight and keep sane. And then here's the rename option as well, and unmuting. So if you have somebody abusing the unmute, take it away just by clicking the checkbox, and now they can't unmute. Here's the one about annotating. So if I do go up to the top of my screen and I start scribbling under this more, I should have annotation tools. Oh, forgive me, you might have it there. I have it right on my bar. And so now I have the ability to mark up on whatever live screen is going out to my audience. So I really don't want to scribble, but if I wanted to use an arrow here, I could point out the lovely drawings and paintings from my daughter on the back wall. So that's going to stay there no matter what. So in our chat, Kelly's asking, where do you find the Annotate tools? So in my security, let me go ahead and clear that, clear all my drawings. And as a participant, it might be under the more, where you would find the annotation tools. So let's see, in security, I have it allowed that any one of you can draw on shared content. So let's see if I have to actually share a screen here. Let me get that out of the way. And so does that help you? And Jacqueline didn't find the green check mark. Melissa, yeah, when you're on the iPad, all those buttons are across the top instead of the bottom. So that's something to think about if your students join on a mobile device. The buttons do move. So Kelly was helping click on the participants tab. But the Annotate tool and the security tab, only the host, only the teacher is going to see that, Kelly. But how about now? Is there anybody out there seeing the annotation? Somebody is. Okay, we're getting some people doodling out there on our screen. Now I can disable that all at once. I can show the names of the annotators. That's another control. So if you feel like you really need to know who's annotating, now you guys see the names popping up, right? So you could kind of collaborate on the fly with this built-in annotation tool. Now that's really kind of think of like your overhead projector, and you'd have the clear acetate and it would be over top of your black line master, but this is not actually going on to my document. In the day of collaborating with Google Documents, though, you can certainly open something up and have everybody go that route as well. So I am going to stop our annotation and disable that. Oh, Kelly Shetler just got a hello in there. And on the iPad, you can't find it. So let me see if the iPad even allows that, because I have one here myself. You know what? No. And that brings me to a thought. Annotation on the iPad is not able, and let me see, or on a Chromebook. So I showed you something that maybe with your students on Chromebooks, and Melissa, you did find it in the lower left? Okay, yep, there it is. Thank you for correcting me. On the iPad you can, but I do want to share some limits for Chromebooks. And I know Zoom is working on these, and again, they don't have a release date, but I want to go through these really quick, because if you're a host, if you're the teacher on a Chromebook, you're going to have limits if you are the one in charge. So for example, at the beginning, I thought I had my audio turned on so you can listen to music or have audio part of a YouTube video. Guess what? You don't even get the option on a Chromebook. You really don't want to be a host from a Chromebook. Now the students could receive the audio, but no way. As a teacher right now, you cannot send out your sound from a Chromebook. You cannot, what else? On a Chromebook, if you are the host, you cannot use the whiteboard. That won't be there. The host cannot do screen annotation from a Chromebook, and remote control. Now I've skipped polling altogether. You'll find that in that basics presentation, but I've just given up on polling. It's been hit or miss. I've seen where Chromebook students, their votes didn't register. So if you're wondering why I didn't include that in the refresher, I've just seen too many inconsistencies for that tool to be useful. So I see some of you helping out and answering, and so Michelle has found what she was looking for. Okay, yeah, that was nice of you, Melissa, thank you. But if you're somebody still looking for these nonverbals, I want to go ahead and disable our annotations. I also want to clear our annotations. And so keep that in mind. The annotation tool might not be 100% for everyone. But I'm going to come back and screen share just to make sure that everyone can find the tools for nonverbals. So I'm clicking on participants. You see that pop up with your names, and I'm going to clear them, but I have icons of yes, no, and I could do a rate of speed and a few other little icons. You are a participant, so you should also have a blue raised hand, or if you're joined from a browser, it might be a little skin-colored hand. So those are the icons in case you couldn't find these. And sometimes you might wait for everybody in class to sound off, because these are tools that should be on their screen no matter what device they have. And everybody should be able to sound off. That's a good way to know, did that student walk away from their computer? Should I go on with my lesson? Just like you check for understanding in class. Now for me, I know I don't get everybody who responds in here, but we have kind of an average class size. I do it because I'm under a time constraint. So that's a little bit about some of those tools, and let me come up here to practice the remote control tool. And this is where you could have a student be interactive with you. So I'm going to a different screen only because it's going to have a manipulative on it for me. So this is Toy Theater. So this is going to be a link you'll find in your chat here shortly. It's also in our email, and it's going to be in the recording description on YouTube. So Toy Theater is this website with all these fun manipulatives, and we have different subjects across there too. In our chat, if you want to volunteer, if you want to pick the subject for the tool we go to, I want you to give me a message in our chat. Say, you can type me or I volunteer. Okay, oh, Melissa, all right. And she did it privately. So here's the thing, if you are asking for questions that have answers, you can use private chatting where the students anytime can private chat the host. Even if private chat is off for the rest of the class, they always can private chat you. And that would be a good way for them to respond to you with an answer and no one else sees the proper answer. Okay, so Melissa, she chose clock, but now Kelly is our volunteer. So here's what I'm gonna do. We'll see how this works. Under remote control, I look at the list of names. Now, only names of people who can, that's so funny that Kelly's first, are going to appear in my list. So I had clicked a little remote control icon at the top, and now Kelly can control my screen because she volunteered. So Kelly, can you go ahead and move the mouse and pick the clock? And Kelly is controlling my screen. She's moving my mouse. Look, hands-free. And she's gonna pick a clock. Are you able to click? There she goes. So be interactive with your students if possible. And she's setting the time. It is 5 o'clock somewhere, right, Kelly? And so that is a tool. Again, though, if you have a Chromebook, you can't do that. So again, we have a lot of students with Chromebooks. Keep that one in mind. So I'm going to take back control. And then I just click a little button that said abort control. So thank you for volunteering, Kelly. And Melissa picked what we played with. So that's Toy Theater, a lot of choices in there. So these are all built-in tools. Don't think you need to get out of the gate right from day one and try to do Annotate or remote control or whiteboard. That's a lot. I would start out simple, and I'd even try just recording one myself. Remember, if you are recording locally, then you will get the video. It will be in your folder, kind of like in your documents folder, in a Zoom folder. It will record your chat. It will give you an audio only version. It will give you an audio and video version. And then you can decide, how do you distribute that? Do you save it to Drive? Do you upload it to YouTube? And I recommend a lot for YouTube because you will get the ability to have closed captioning and transcription done for your videos. So then you would have a text version of the audio portion, and you could print that out ahead of time, or you can direct students and parents to that. It's a nice tool. So that's why I post to YouTube. So I'm going to stop my share there. We were just looking at the screen. Now, I also want to touch base with my notes so I don't miss a few things. Your video. If you would like, you can switch from one video source to another. So if you have a document camera, and I will share my screen just for you to see these buttons. So down in my lower left-hand corner, I have the video. I have an arrow to the right of it. And if I have a second camera, document camera, for example, then I can choose that. And so maybe we're discussing nutrition facts, and maybe these nerds aren't the most nutritious meal, but we're able to zoom in. This is where you could then combine some of these tools and students could annotate over it. And we could even talk about some of the ingredients. Ooh, loving us some carnauba wax. We gotta have that in all our candy. So whatever you can do with a document camera in your classroom, you can do with a document camera in Zoom. And so make sure you have a good light source. I'm re-pressing on the zoom and the focus for my document camera. But if you have only a desktop computer and you don't have a camera, you could always angle your document camera to be your camera source. So that is an option. It's very easy to switch from one to the other. So I can go back to my regular camera. Also down there, you saw that that's where I can choose my virtual background. So when I click there, it is popping up settings for me. I have the program installed. So if you notice here, I have backgrounds that I can choose from, and they're so-so. I mean, depends on the background behind you and what kind of color you have, how is the background, and they do have their own animated, but again, this is going to draw on your internet. So if you do have a green screen, great. And then you have this ability to mirror your video. So that's going to flip it back around. Now, all these other settings, these are, kind of in combination with the My Settings in my account that's online, but some of these are for the application because I have this installed. And so I did want to show you guys regarding some of these settings. And I think I need to stop my background. There we go. Just so that's not distracting. But I want to show you settings so if you do record or if you have somebody's phone number in there, you don't accidentally divulge too much information. So let me head to my settings. I went through the checklist, but what's not on there in the settings is recording. So under recording, this is where it has local recording on. If you're doing cloud recording and it's a licensed account, that's what you have to have and to be able to do cloud recording. There's a large pot. So all of TCCSA and all the schools who have purchased Zoom accounts are saving to the cloud in that one big pot. And it's a very large pot of storage. I'm not sure if we're going to run into any issues with them, but if you do record online, you could always download your video and just post it wherever you like later. What I really like about the cloud recording, it's going to have a little video thumbnail of the person speaking in the corner, and it's also going to do a chat right in line. If some of you have watched like a YouTube live event, then you'll see the chat right off to the side. And I want to come down for recording. And here was the ability to just ask people, recording disclaimer. That's where you would check that to make sure you're asking them, it's okay to record them, and then telephone. So if I am having people join by phone, this is where you mask their phone number. So make sure you don't give out somebody's full phone number. The last type of screen sharing I want to show is through the iPad, and I'm going to show you how that's done here. So when I pick share, quickly from that share button, up on my screen will come my choices. And because I've gone out to the Zoom website to their plugins, through their downloads, I can get this iPhone, iPad plugin. Now I have mine cabled. So I just pick the one by cable, and then I hit share. So what you'll all see now will be my phone, and then I'm able to use it as a document camera. And with this shelf, it's kind of nice. I don't have to hold the phone. If I'm doing a read aloud, I'm able to flip the pages very easily. This is a small book, so it's able to reach through. And I do get a shadow because my light source is off to the right, but it is a wide book, so I might have to slide it side to side, but I have plenty of space to do that. And if I need it, I just pinch on my screen to zoom in while I'm reading. So keep in mind, these are books that have copyright. Do not post your videos out there publicly because they belong to somebody else. And a performance of a written work is technically, something that requires licensing. Another thing, because of this, you could then have a meeting, a Zoom meeting with your parents, and you could say, all right, we're using Google Classroom, or we're using, and boy, we've got a whole litany of different LMSs I know our schools have subscribed for, whether it's Canvas or Blackboard, whatever you're using, and it has a mobile app, you could have a meeting and show the parents, hey, this is how your students are going to get in. And the Google Classroom mobile app has a lot of nice features. So you're able to have them turn in work by using the phone, and you could demonstrate that. Now, I'm not using the microphone from this plugged in device. I'm still using this mic that's with my earbuds. So I want to let you know that during the screen share, audio is coming from the same source. So I'm going to stop that share and see how we're doing. I'm going to look at the chat. Do we have any questions? And I'm looking for my notes here. All right. I didn't review how you guys would just start a simple meeting. So I kind of apologize about that. I jumped right in, but if you are simply, and I'm going to get back to Anne's question here, but if you are simply accessing your Zoom account from the web, right here we have schedule a meeting right across the top. It's always there no matter what screen you are visiting. You can title it and fill out your settings here. Now, I like using my personal meeting ID over and over. I'm lazy, but my audience is very narrow and I have the waiting room turned on. So nobody's going to get in, even if they went and shared out this number. But you definitely don't want to share these numbers out in social media at all. And I just review my settings, and when I'm ready to schedule that meeting, I hit save. So let's see. So Anne, she was just saying, thanks. She's looking and I've explained some of the tools she'll be able to use in class. So I'm glad to hear that. So scheduling your meeting, also make that convenient for you. There is a little Zoom tool you can grab, this Zoom scheduler. It's a Chrome extension. And so then I would just sign in with Zoom, with Google, if that's how my account is set up. And then I use my little tool. I can schedule a meeting from that button. I wouldn't have to go to my account, or I could just start a meeting on the fly. Now, if I wanted to, I could also install, let me get to it, back to my settings. They have in the meetings area where I could also schedule. So schedule from the top, schedule from the meetings section. And down here they have where you can go get the Chrome extension and also a Microsoft Outlook plugin. So if you're still using Microsoft Outlook, then you can put events on your calendar and it would include the Zoom meeting. So Lori's asking in our chat, does it automatically email participants to join? You're just scheduling a meeting. If you were to use the Microsoft plugin and you're in your Outlook account, you can invite people that way to your event. But once you schedule, you're going to have to go to that event. And I'll show you what I did here today. And I'll bring up my Zoom window, hopefully. Maybe since I'm in the middle of this class, I won't be able to display. But here I would have upcoming meetings. I want to see, I'll pick from my previous so you can see what you would copy. How nice. I haven't been using the web portal. I've been using all of my, oh, and I see what else too. I am not signed into my, when I clicked that little gadget, I signed into a different account. That's why I'm not seeing those meetings. So let's just pretend this was a meeting. Everything was hunky-dory with those settings. So when I look at my meetings, Lori, what I would do is I would just click on the title, and then I can grab the invitation information where it says copy invitation. That is now going to go in an email to somebody, or if you're using Google Classroom, you could put it in there, but it doesn't automatically send to people unless you have a tool where your audience already is. All right, I hope this felt like a refresher. In a way, I've included demonstrating some of the neater features like Annotate, remote control, some of the more interactive functions, because being a refresher, I just flew through those settings. You have the checklist, so you can go through your own account yourself. And I'm going to stop our recording so we can ask other questions if you have them.